So if you're like me and you were just going off the information available on the Mizuno website, you would think that the Wave Sky 9 isn't just a traditional version of the Neo Vista 2. Shoe comparison I got for you guys today. So we are going to put the Mizuno Neo Vista 2 up against the Mizuno Wave Sky 9. So I'll go through their similarities, differences and key features, and hopefully from that'll give you guys a great indication of choosing the right shoe for you. But before we get into it, a big shout out to my #1 running store, the Running Company at Geelong. I've got a link to their website in the description. Make sure you go check out that and check out all their running gear. And also guys, if you haven't done so already and you want to support the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And with the specs, so both neutral road running shoes and probably both in different categories as well. Certainly both in that max cushion category, but I think the Neo Vista is certainly, well, it's got a worthy claim to be in that super trainer category. Now, checking out the price there, what's jumping out to me here is you're going to pay a fair bit more for the Neo Vista 2. Now, is that warranted? Well, there's probably a little bit more tech squeezed into the Neo Vista 2, which we'll find out later. That probably warrants that. Now, in the weight, a little bit heavier here in the sky. Can you actually notice that? Well, in the hand, I can't really notice it. And I must say, on the foot, I don't really notice it either because the Wave Sky 9 is such a well-balanced shoe. And in the stack heights, pretty similar stacks there, as you can see, both huge stacks, but I do feel slightly higher off the ground in the Neo Vista. And in the uppers, two completely different designs going on here. So what we got with the Neo Vista 2, so this is a stretch knit booty design. Just means the upper is just one piece. So the knit itself, it's quite thick, it's robust. It's not that flexible, to be quite honest, and I do think breathability could be better, even though there is some breathability zones throughout the shoe. Got a bit of a flimsy heel counter at the back, tiny bit of structure, but it doesn't have a solid cap there, as you can see. Really high Achilles flare, which sort of blends into the tongue as well. To get your foot into the shoe, you've got to pull these pull tabs apart and just squeeze your foot in like so. Now, within the shoe, there's absolutely no padding on this shoe whatsoever. So that might be a little bit worrying for some people, but it actually doesn't cause me any drama whatsoever. Now, with our lacing system, we've got some cables sewn down to the knit either side, and the laces just weave through those cables. Now, I barely have to use these laces. I can use, or I can just leave them tied up like so. I just squeeze my foot in because this knit has got the perfect amount of structure for my foot. So I get a great midfoot lockdown here, and also get no slippage on the back, considering that there's absolutely no padding in the shoe, which is quite surprising. But this one, the Neo Zen and the previous Neo Vista all have the same type of design, and none have given me an issue. So I'm pretty lucky with the shape of my foot and these Mizuno shoes. Now in the fit, I'm going to say true to size in the length. It's probably on the wide side for a toe box, and the volume, it's pretty voluminous as well. However, it's perfect for me. So I definitely say true to size. If you've got a bit of a narrow foot or a skinny foot, you may want to explore coming half a size down, but for me, true to size is absolutely perfect. Now, in comparison here to the Wave Sky 9, so a much more traditional upper on this shoe. So they call this one a smooth stretch woven, but the material itself, it's not too stretchy. It feels quite rigid actually and robust, so I'm going to say it's going to last a long time. And again, like the Neo Vista, the breathability probably could be better on the shoe. Now we've got a proper solid heel canter at the back here, a little Achilles flare at the back, and I'm going to say probably a medium amount of padding around the heel collar. We've got a bit of a plush padded tongue, and I'm going to say the tongue is gusseted as well. Standard lacing system here, reinforced eyelets. No issues with these laces coming undone, but I do have to actually use these laces to tie up in the shoe. You can do the runner's knot in the shoe as well. In the lockdown department, no issues at all. Perfect through the midfoot, no heel slippage at the back. Now in the fit, in the length, true to size in the length. And in the width though, I'm going to say in comparison to the Neo Vista, it is a little bit more narrow, and there's probably a little bit less volume in the toe box when comparing it to the Neo Vista. But in the length department, they are about the same. And in the outsoles, two totally different designs going on here. However, I do believe they're using the same type of rubber, so that X10 blown rubber. But in the Neo Vista 2 here, it does feel like that the rubber is softer, but that just could mean that the rubber is lathered on not quite as thick, because you can push it in quite easily. So we've got rubber, pretty much two distinct segments in the shoe. So on the lateral side and on the middle of the shoe, and then through the middle here, we've just got this huge crevice where you can see that exposed wave plate through the shoe. Now the tread pattern on the bottom of this rubber, it's not too aggressive or anything like that, but in the grip department, it's not too bad. So it does have a few little issues on a freshly wet road, but in the dry, obviously all shoes are excellent. But in the durability department, it does show signs of wear. So I think I'm about 100 kilometers in this shoe, and you can see I've pretty much worn the tread pattern through there pretty much to a slick surface. But obviously, it's not going to play too much of a part in affecting the grip. All it's doing is really protecting this really soft midsole. Now, differences here in the Wave Sky 9. As I said, same rubber, but to touch it, it feels a lot firmer. So, but it does look thicker as well. So it could just be that case. But yeah, totally different design. It's got all these unique little shapes on it. It kind of reminds me of, like, they've got it all in these pods. It's segmented off, which is good as well. So it's not all joined together. And you'll notice here though, in the bottom of the Wave Sky 9, it doesn't have that huge cavity. So it's all filled in, and we've just got some exposed foam through the middle. So that really translates into the ride, which I'll go into later. But performance-wise with the outsole, it performs about the same way as what you're going to get in the Neo Vista 2. And in the midsole, so both shoes are boasting a dual density Mizuno Energy NXT setup. And it's the same type of setup. So they've both got a nitrogen-infused NXT foam as the top layer and the EVA version as the bottom layer. However, don't be fooled by that, because they are different formulations in each shoe. So with the Neo Vista 2, so with our top layer here of that Mizuno Energy NX2, I believe this is the TPU version. So nitrogen-infused TPU supercritical. So that is the exact same foam that is in the Neo Zen. So this, to the look and to the touch, it's super soft, super squishy. So that's our top layer here. And then under that, they have got their glass-infused wave plate. As you can see there through the bottom, so full length, giving this shoe some rigidity. Rigidity-wise, it's still got a bit of flex, so it's not like a carbon plate where you can't bend it at all. This one's still got a bit of flex, but this shoe needs that plate just to stabilise these soft foams. And this bottom layer of that NXT foam, that EVA foam, it's not as soft, it's not as squishy, it's just there again, just to stabilise the shoe a little bit, but it does add some smoothness to the ride, which I'll cover later. Geometry department, so again, it's got their smooth speed assist. So all of that just means is the geometry. So we've got a bit of a rear foot rocker here, or a rear bevel, and also a bit of a early stage forefoot rocker. But I must say that this is the most toned down smooth speed assist geometry that I have experienced in a Mizuno shoe. Now, in comparison to the Wave Sky 9, as we said, still got the dual density NXT foam set up. The top version here is a nitrogen injected version, but I don't believe it's the TPU supercritical version. This one, to the feel and to the touch, it looks a lot more traditional. It feels a little bit more like Puma's nitro foam that they use in some of their shoes. So yeah, a little bit that nitro foam that you've seen in a few of the other brands, even like a little bit of the maybe the Brooks glycerin. So it feels a little bit like that. And then the bottom layer, the EVA bottom layer of their NXT foam. Now this foam, the bottom layer, certainly feels pretty close to the bottom layer of the Vista 2. Now, no plate in the shoe, but it does have that wave plate, or the wave technology, to add some stability to the shoe. And they're just creating the stability of the shoe with the way that the waves are shaped in the foam with the midsole. So rigidity-wise, in comparison to the Vista, guess what? It's just as stiff, if not stiffer. So let's check them out. Yeah, probably a little bit more flexible through the toe there with the Vista over the Wave Sky. Now, in the geometry department, this one doesn't boast that it has that smooth speed assist geometry. However, by the looks of it, it still looks pretty close to what you do get in the Neo Vista. The Neo Vista's probably got a bit more of a rear foot rocker, but certainly in the geometry through the front of the shoe, I'm going to say they're pretty similar. And I'm going to say on the run, it's probably a little bit more noticeable, the forefoot rocker in the Sky, more so than the Vista. And in the ride, well, both shoes are going to give you a pretty different running experience. So with the Neo Vista 2, first word that comes to mind here is bouncy. So this is one of the, or if not the bounciest shoe that is currently on the market. I know there's a couple of shoes releasing pretty soon that's probably going to be bouncy, or if not more bouncier than this shoe, but this one at the moment, it's so soft, so you sink into this shoe. It's so squishy, but there's a lot of energy return, there's a lot of bounce. Yeah, it's more of a fun bounce, so it's not a responsive, snappy bounce. It's a big, sink, squishy bounce. Doesn't come across as the most smooth shoe like the previous version, so the most efficient shoe. This one now, it's just pure fun factor. You're just bouncing down the road. Stability-wise though, I do think it will cause an issue for some runners. So runners that pronate a lot may have a little bit of an issue here because the foams are so soft and squishy, but the plate is certainly needed through the middle of this shoe. It's doing its best there just to stabilize these soft foams. And for most neutral runners, I don't think you're going to have an issue with the Neo Vista. But that's soft, bouncy, squishy fun. And with the Sky 9, so 3 words jump out to me here: smooth, soft, and stable. So yes, it's soft, but it's nowhere near as soft, and it's nowhere near as squishy as the Vista. So you don't sink into it far as much. And when you get your bounce out of the shoe, because it has got some nice bounce about it, the bounce is a little bit more responsive than the Neo Vista. It's not an overly responsive bounce, but it's got a nice pop about it. So as you're rolling, as you're running along, it's just got this little aftertaste, this little pop, this little bit of responsiveness, and it just feels amazing. And yeah, the stability, you just feel super safe in this shoe. Nice big wide base. Certainly a lot more safer and stable than the Neo Vista. And I'm going to say it's smoother as well. Even though the first Neo Vista was super smooth, this one, again, smooth ride. So this geometry paired with the foams here, I think it delivers a beautiful ride. Now, because there's not too much sink, there's not too much bounce in this shoe, even though it's got some pop, it's a really efficient shoe for me. And the shoe is so well balanced, it doesn't feel bottom heavy at all. It just feels, as I said, on the foot, it feels, you can't really tell the difference between these two shoes in the weight department because this is so well balanced. So it does feel like that you're kind of floating around in this shoe. So absolutely amazing. But yes, stable, very smooth, and just the right amount of softness. And best use, I think both these two shoes are pretty much targeted at the same types of runs. So perfect for your easy days, those recovery miles when the legs are beat up. Big stacks here, they're really going to protect you from the pounding of the road. Both these two shoes as well can go long. So probably my two, or almost my two favorite long run shoes at the moment. But I do think that the Sky 9 is certainly more suited to daily use, certainly more over the Neo Vista 2, because I think this one, you need to save this one for special occasions because it's just so soft and bouncy. If you're running in this thing all the time, it's really just going to ruin your experience of all other shoes because all other shoes are going to feel like stiff, firm bricks. So if you're like me and you were just going off the information available on the Mizuno website, you would think that the theWave Sky 9 isn't just a traditional version of the Neo Vista 2. Well, I can tell you now from comparing these two shoes directly, testing both, that they are both pretty different shoes and they will both deliver you pretty different running experiences, and I do think they have their place in a rotation. So with the Neo Vista 2, this one is a little bit more of a risk for most runners. So the upper is not going to work for everyone, and this really soft, squishy, bouncy foam is obviously not going to work for everyone as well. And with the theWave Sky 9, yes, far less risk involved in this shoe. I can certainly recommend this shoe to far more people than I can the Neo Vista. But this shoe, it is absolutely tuned to perfection. So no frills upper, comfortable, whereas this midsole, this ride is just bang on. Such a well-balanced shoe, just the right amount of softness, stability, nice and smooth. It's nice and efficient, very protected from the road. So yeah, both these two shoes are really up there for me, or they're both contenders for the shoe of the year for me. But anyway, guys, that's it for me. Any questions you've got regarding these two shoes or how they compare to anything else, just hit me up in the comments. Thanks for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.